This book was compiled by devotees or disciples of Radhanath Swami. And Radhanath Swami is somebody who I have heard speak many times across the United States and in India. And you can check out, of course, his website, or you can also see different articles that I have written about him in the past on my website, thenamastecouncil.com. But this book, as I mentioned, it's just very short little uplifting messages that are all spiritual. And he has them divided into different areas. And I will read to you each headline so that you know what it falls into in terms of the buckets, and then the actual message. So this one, the first one that I'm going to read to you about, is from the title Austerity. Radhanath Swami is a monk. He has been a monk since he was, I don't know, maybe 19 or 20 years old. And so he talks a lot about living an austere life and the benefits of it. And I'm just going to read one sentence about austerity because it's my favorite from this book. Austerity means putting aside our selfish ambitions for a higher purpose. And I really like that because a lot of times we think that people, when they're being austere, it's just like they're saying no to everything just for whatever reason, just because they want to be austere. But what I really liked about this is that it's all about the higher purpose. There has to be that why. And so that's why I liked that quote. The next one that I'm going to read to you from is about humility. And Radhanath Swami is very, very renowned, and he is an extremely humble person, and he is a Vaishnava, part of the ISKCON group, and ISKCON teaches everyone to be humble. And so I always hear all the time why you're supposed to be humble. And Radhanath Swami, again, he is a perfect example of humility. But again, sometimes you question, well, why does it matter? And he says, Vaishnava humility doesn't mean to be depressed because our ego is smashed. It means to be elated because our ego is being liberated. The real ego is emerging over the false ego. So I thought that's a beautiful quote. And then there's another one that he talks about, or that I'm going to read to you, that is also about humility. And when I was just in India, I was with two of Radhanath Swami's students. They are monks, and I've learned very much from them, both in 2019 during my visit and this time. And we talked, or they talked, a lot about materialism. And of course, materialism and humility can go hand in hand. And the next line that I'm going to read to you from Radhanath Swami is about that. He says, material inferiority complex is when we have a big ego and it is not being fulfilled. Then we become depressed and we feel inferior. But humility is to be without ego, without that false ego. So feel free to comment on anything that resonates with you. I believe in our Western society, we are taught it's all about the ego, the I, me, mine. And the Beatles were followers of Eastern philosophy, and that's why the song I, me, mine by the Beatles is all about that, because they recognized that we have to not ignore, but suppress the ego, and again, always for that higher cause. The next one that I'm going to read to you is about Vedic truths. And for those who don't know, the term Vedic or Veda refers to knowledge. And traditionally, we are talking about the ancient 5,000-year-old knowledge that comes from the Vedas, or that comes from the ancient texts from the Indian subcontinent. And Radhanath Swami, in the book Nectar Stream, says the Vedic path of spirituality is so deep and broad that it can embrace and accommodate the essence of other religions. And I just wanted to mention that that is something that I think is very important, because what I definitely find in the spirituality path that I follow, and I'm very much attuned to the Vaishnava and Radhanath Swami's style of spirituality, and I believe it really is for people of all faiths. And in fact, one of the women that was with me on the trip just a couple weeks ago, the last day that we were there, we did a video call via Zoom with Radhanath Swami. He was unable to be in India when we were there for personal reasons. And this one woman told him that after spending a lot of time with his monks and with his other students and within the community, she felt more spiritual, but also more connected to her own faith that she had been raised in her entire life, which, was not the same spiritual path that Radhanath Swami follows. But that is what I believe as well, is that true spirituality should allow you to believe whatever you want to believe and to be connected to that higher source, or to whatever you want to call your God or your creator. And I'm just going to reread that line from Nectar Stream, because to me it is so important. It's not about changing people's religions or beliefs. It's about growing the ability to connect to a higher purpose and a higher being and the spiritual world. The Vedic path of spirituality is so deep and broad that it can embrace and accommodate the essence of other religions. So I'd love to hear your comments. The next one that I'm going to read to you is under the heading Secret Gems. And the monks that we were traveling with, they also talked about love and hate and self-love and self-hatred. And those, of course, are major topics. And Radhanath Swami has just a really short line that I liked. The hate we have for someone destroys us 100 times more than we can hurt that person. And that is why, of course, forgiveness is so important. And I have another form of meditation or spiritual practice, which I call Sahaja Yoga, and I led Sahaja Yoga while I was in India with the people in my group, because to me, Sahaja Yoga is an excellent method to help forgive yourself and forgive others, because sometimes it is also very difficult to forgive ourselves. I'm going to read one more little nugget from Radhanath Swami's Nectar Stream, and it's under the heading False Pride. When we know that we don't know anything, it means we know something. But when we know that we know something, it means we don't know anything. This is spiritual geometry. And that actually reminds me of things my mother used to say, and I can't remember what they were, but she basically was kind of like the person that would say, smart people don't say they're smart. Today's book pick of the week is Nectar Streams by Radhanath Swami.